Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about the second one. It's Joker Folie Deux.
It's jokey too.
Jokey,
baby.
as we have been known to call it
as
this
of
podcast.
Last week, accidentally, we're leaning into it.
Yes.
Get used to it.
Get on board with it. We're calling it Jokey. So we're talking about Jokey 2, the jokiest, Folie Deux, which I love that in Canada with our bilingual nature, we went to get tickets for a showing and all of them have to be clearly marked English, just to let you know this isn't a French film or a French screening of the Joker film.
Yeah, because I guess there are definitely French screenings as we are a bilingual country. I wonder if that's even in America, though, as well, just because, it's got a French title. People might be like, oh, never mind.
I think with us, there's definitely there's language law, legal reasons that they would have to clarify, I would think.
Yeah, but that was very funny to be like, it's English, we promise.
It's English. Please don't panic. Please don't panic. It's Joker 2. We wanted to call it that, but we have to call it this.
Lady Gaga doesn't sing in French, you guys.
So don't even worry.
Don't even worry about it.
Don't worry about that. So we're talking about Joker 2, Jokey Folie Deux, today on the podcast. This is a new film, and as we do anytime we talk about a new movie or TV show, we like to give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about seeing it, not sure if it's worth your time, or just want a taste of the episode before you listen to the whole dang thing, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review right now, and then once you hear the theme music, that is when we will be entering the spoiler-filled section. So we'll start with the spoiler-free review, the usual, the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
Now, before I answer, I just need to say, let me finish. And you never interrupt me, but I need you to just bear with me as I answer if I liked it. I did like about half to maybe 2/3 of this movie. I did. I not love, but I was having a good time. Here's very important information for the listeners. This is wildly important information. I love bad musicals. I have seen Cats 8 times. All the way through, not just certain scenes. I will watch the whole bad musical. So honestly, you shouldn't even be taking my critique of this film in a lot of ways, because I love a bad musical. But then it comes back around, and the last third to half was so bad that I hated the movie overall. So even Diana loving a bad musical, oh no, this movie's so bad it went around and passed it to just bad. Oh no, here we are. This movie's bad. I didn't like it, but I did have fun for about an hour and a half.
What a journey.
What a journey we're on.
I did want to interrupt you for some of that.
I know you did, and you never do, but I thought you were gonna, so I just needed to come back around to know the movie's bad, the music is bad, the song choices are bad, the performance of the songs are bad, the movie's very boring. It's actually gorgeous though. I think it's actually a very good-looking movie that has not anything else going for it other than the visuals. But yes, it's got nothing to say. The love story doesn't work. It could. Man, there's a version of this movie I'd love. But yeah, this is a very bad movie, and this is the spoiler-free version. But I am going to spoil that the director's a liar, and it's absolutely a musical. Please do not be fooled by this whole, it's not actually a musical campaign they went on. It's as musical a musical I've ever seen. So it's bad. I didn't like it, but I did like it for an hour and a half. But overall, but only because I like bad things. And then it got too bad. Andrew, did you like Joker Folie Deux?
I have well, first of all, on the question of did I like it, I'm laughing. I'm leaving the theater laughing. I'm chuckling it up at how funny this movie is in none of the ways that it is intended.
That's fair. We did laugh.
We were busting a nut leaving that theater. We were laughing so hard. It was very funny. This movie is miserable.
Okay, yes.
This movie is miserable. It is bad. It is bad in new kinds of ways.
Groundbreaking
ways.
It
is great. It found new ways to be bad. It was just a lot of it, I will say most of it was just kind of blandly boring. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So some of it is just kind of bland.
Yeah.
some of it is just like wildly, boldly stupid, and that makes it kind of like laughable. Some of it is just like problematic or offensive.
Yep, definitely.
And I am actually going to disagree with you and say it isn't a musical. It is a movie that has four public domain American songbook songs in it that are listly sung for about 15 seconds.
Oh, I totally disagree. They sing so much in this movie.
I feel like they never sang.
I feel like they sang the whole time.
And this is fascinating because looking at reviews, this is also a pretty even divide on reviews as well. Some people are like, it's 100% a musical. Why didn't they admit it's a musical? And some people are like, I don't remember seeing music in this. And I'm of the I don't remember seeing music. It is fascinating that this movie is so bad we can't even all get on the same point as to where it failed.
This feels like when people like, I apologize that this is about men. It's like when men think women talk 90% of the time, but they've actually only talked 50% of the time. There is a kind of skewed, I don't know who's right. I don't know which of us is right about how much music is in this.
Yeah. Well, I think it is, and not to get into the spoiler section, but I would say musically, to not spoil anything, but just to comedically describe how the music seemed to me, is it would cut to what would seem like the beginning of a music sequence. And someone would warm up a piano. They wouldn't play a song, but they'd be like, they'd tune it, and there'd be like a little tickling of the keys, and they'd tune it, while Joaquin Phoenix would do 3 yoga stretches in a row, and he'd just kind of stretch it out, and he'd light a cigarette, and he'd stretch it out, and the piano's still warming up, and he'd stretch it out, and he'd be like, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with me. And then they would just cut to a different scene. And I'm like, that wasn't a musical. That was not a musical. That was 3 straight minutes of a pianist vamping, of Joaquin Phoenix stretching, and then someone seemingly burping one line.
I completely disagree. I think you are blacking out the second the music actually starts. I think you did it the whole movie, that every time there's a dream sequence, they did an entire song.
It was 3 minutes of piano warm up followed by 10 seconds of a song.
No, they'd sing it.
They never did more than one verse of a song.
I think they sang entire songs.
There was no chorus repetition of a song at any given point.
Chorus repetition might not have happened, but
and that
I
means
think
they never hit the second verse.
I think there's at least a minute of every song. Because I think the singing was really bad, and I thought it would never end, so it was there.
I agree with you there. I agree with you there 1,000%. It is bad, and it felt like it would never end. I think empirically it lasted 10 seconds. Yes, it did feel like I was in that theater for 9.5 hours. I fully agree.
This is, I have to tell you, listeners, another reason why this movie was good to me and no one else for a while, because I know Andrew doesn't even like good musicals very much.
I like good musicals.
Oh, you like good musicals?
I like good musicals.
You're not a musicals man.
I don't seek out musicals, but I do not attempt to poo-poo them.
No, you do not.
When I watch them, I'm like, you did it. I'm having fun. I'm having a great time.
I remember you liked Hamilton a lot when we saw it.
Yeah, I like other musicals too.
But sitting there next to a man who I'm like, is like medium on regular musicals, and I'm watching this terrible movie, I'm like, he is fuming right now.
It sucks. It sucks. No one tries. So I think it sucks.
I disagree on no one tries, because I actually sincerely think it looks really good.
I also think it looks like piss.
Oh, I think the cinematography and the direction is like, I think that's all it is. I think it's just silhouettes and cool shots.
Interesting. See, I feel like everyone who did a really good job on the first one, because our when we covered the first one, that was a mixed bag. But I agree that was like, it looked lived in. It was visually very stunning. The lighting was good. The sets and the props and like just the world they created felt very, very real and dirty, and it felt like a 70s kind of New York allegory. And it feels like everyone who worked hard on the last movie just didn't show up for this one or got the day off. Like, I honestly, there's rooms where I'm like, there's 2 props in here. Like, no one even made an effort.
I mean, I'm thinking more of just like the shots of like framing, and also the dream sequence, music sequences, I think are quite beautiful.
Fair. I respectfully disagree.
Okay, wow. We saw very different movies, but we didn't like
But
either
we have
one.
the same conclusion. And this is so consistent. When I've looked up other reviews online, everyone's like 1 star, and none of them agree why it's 1 star, but everyone agrees like it's wild.
Is this Megalopolis and like different movies play for different people?
I don't know. I'm
Are
fascinated.
we still in the spoiler-free review? I've lost all sense of perspective.
I don't know where I am. It feels like a full fever dream that has occurred in so much of this. But can this movie be spoiled?
Can this movie be spoiled? Don't see it. There's your spoiler. Unless you want to go track how much music is or is not in it. No, yes. I can't answer this question this week. No.
You don't have it in you.
I've lost all perspective.
I am going to say largely no. It can't be spoiled.
If you've seen the trailer,
it is the trailer.
Yeah, all the best shots are in the trailer.
Yep, and it is a movie whose premise is let's talk to you about the first movie, and that's the entire. If you saw the first movie, you know the plot of this movie, which is talking about the first movie, and that's it. There's no other plot.
They basically could have just done a podcast episode about Joker 1, which is what we did.
I think this movie is a podcast, which is wild. So we're 3 tiers deep now. We're doing a podcast about a podcast that happened to have visuals. I would say that there is one spoiler that is one of the most idiotic things of the film that I will look forward to getting into. But there is one soft spoiler, which is just stupid.
I can agree, and it'll never matter.
It'll never matter.
It'll never matter.
We agree. It'll never matter.
It's bad, and it'll never matter.
So. Oh boy, we're gonna get wet and wild on this one, I think, this week. Before we get into the spoiler-filled section of Joker 2, we will get there in just a moment. Before we do, Diana, do you have anything interesting to tell the folks?
I do. I've got to like refocus myself. I've lost perspective, but in the past I had perspective, and when I had perspective, I wrote a book called Sex Lives of Superheroes, and it comes out next month. So I just wanted to remind y'all that it is coming out. It is a comedic and scientific look at how superpowers would affect the sex lives of the superheroes that have them. So if you've ever wondered if Spider-Man's sperm was radioactive enough to kill Mary Jane, I answer that unequivocally through science, and then I add some jokes in. If you want to know if Bruce Banner hulks out every time he has sex, I answer that question. What Daredevil's sex life is like with enhanced senses, I answer that question.
So all the important questions.
All the important questions.
You're out here doing the Lord's work.
I'm doing the Lord's work. The best body to build an orgasm with Mystique, I answered it. I figured out the body that you need. So it's a really fun book. Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool, said it was super-duper awesome. You don't just add the duper for no reason.
There you go. Duper's in there.
The duper's in there. So it's super duper awesome. It's so much better than Joker 2. I'll just throw that out there. So Sex Lives of Superheroes is available for pre-order right now. Wherever you get a book, if you get a book somewhere, it's available there. It's from Penguin Random House. They got it all over
all the
place.
book places.
All the book.
It's largely their job to carry the books, and they're doing it.
If Sex Lives of Superheroes isn't available where you get your books, you need a new place to get books.
Yeah.
Because it's out there.
Cut them out of your life because they don't love you the way you deserve to be loved. You know what I mean?
They don't have my book.
Yeah.
So, or let me know because it should be there.
Yeah, also do that.
You know what? That might be more helpful.
Also, just do something helpful.
Yeah, it comes out November 19th, so I'm really excited. I think you guys, if you like me, you'll love my book. It's just guaranteed.
And I'm going to agree to both of those counts.
You love me.
I love you, and I loved this book. So I felt like it was a real one-to-one transitive property on that. So that felt like a real simple move.
Thank you, my love. So you can check it out. It's coming out next month. That's it. And we will get into Joker 2 now.
And a link?
There's a link in the show notes.
There's a link in
superheroes.com/sexlives.
That's what I wanted to hear.
You wanted the exact
I wanted
link.
the exact, exactly where to go from superheroes.com/sexlives. And now let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about Joker, Folie, Deux. There's no songs in this movie.
There's tons of songs in this movie.
There's the shadow of songs. There's the impressions of, there's the whisper, the memory of songs.
No, I like shadow because that implies that like the Looney Tunes-esque cartoon at the beginning, the shadow is the songs and it's not real. So yeah, there we go. But no, I think there's full songs. But like, because it was always so awkward every time there was a song, because most of them, they didn't play any music till they were halfway done. Like, you know, he's being interviewed by the guy interviewing. I mean, he sings the whole song. He sang a whole song.
That was still one verse. There was no chorus or repetition.
I don't know any of these songs well enough to know if that's true.
They're from like the Great American Songbook. I think they're damn near public domain songs with the exception of like 2 or 3.
I know they weren't written for the movie, but they're not songs that I'm like, I mean, what the world needs now is Love, Sweet Love. I know that one.
Yeah.
That was very good. Oh, and what else? The other one? We're Going to Build a Mountain. I guess I kind of know.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say like, yeah, I think there was songs.
Wow.
I don't know how much more we could like, he sings a whole song into the voicemail. I think that was a whole song.
I still think that's 30 seconds. I still think that's 30. I think that if you downloaded because when I think of like a jukebox musical, which is what this movie is in many ways attempting to be, even though I disagree that it's a musical, not because I'm trying to, be counterpoint to you, but because I think it sucks.
Musicals can suck.
Yeah, it can suck. Like in the same way that like, if I called someone like, oh, you're like an Olympic hurdler and they just hit every hurdle and smash their face off of the tarmac. And I'd be like, I don't know if I could call you that because you plummeted to the earth every time you attempted.
Not Olympic, but they'd be a hurdler still.
So it's that level. It's that debate of like, are you the thing if you don't succeed? But when I think of a jukebox musical, it's something where like afterwards, I'm like, I want to listen to the soundtrack. It's not an original soundtrack, but I want to listen to these series of compositions. And I think that neither a soundtrack nor original songs would make more than a 20-minute album for this. Like maybe 10 to 15. If you were just like, let's put all of the moments of the songs from the movie onto audio, I think you got 10, 15 minutes tops.
I think you got 25, but they also sing the same songs a lot.
Yes.
But they do sing them.
Yeah.
But they sing them a lot. Like the one that she sings at the end, like that's entertainment. They sang that like 3 times.
Yes.
I don't really know the other songs.
But if you went to buy a musical soundtrack and there were 6 tracks and the last 3 are reprieves, you'd be like, this isn't fucking finished. This isn't finished.
Even though the movie's 2.5 hours long. Even though it's not a short film. So the length of the movie does make me wonder how much of it is actually music now that you say it. I hate that I didn't like this movie at all, and now I am so wildly tempted to see it again in time how much of it is actually music.
Oh, I very much want to know how much of it's music.
Well, if this debate is happening, somebody will or we'll do it.
Yeah.
And I'll read that article and share it when it happens.
If not, once it's available at home, I will have to start doing the math.
I did that for how much Superman was in the Justice League cut.
Ah, interesting.
And it was actually very interesting.
I recall this, yes.
It was a very fun experiment. But yeah, so no agreement on how much music.
Well, because I'm going to lay this out there. Here's the thing. I actually would have liked this to be a musical. I think it could work as a musical. And even everything about this, it's like, it's so half-hearted as a musical. And I'm like, your premise is we'll air quote musical, a musical based around a prison sentence and a court trial of a very famous figure that is turned for murder that is turned into a media circus. It's Chicago. Which I quite fucking like. I really like Chicago.
I didn't know if you'd seen Chicago, because I also have notes about how just watch Chicago. Just watch Chicago.
Don't see Joker 2, just go watch Chicago.
If you want to see a musical about a courtroom circus. Because Chicago, you can tell when you've gone into fantasy versus reality. It's never a question. The songs are all different, and they're all exciting in a different way. They're not the same exact tone and beat that every single song in this movie had. That's another thing that made it feel so long, is every song was just like the same level of energy and tone and theme. Listless. Even though they're all about being happy or being about clowns.
Yeah.
Like no variation of theme. But like, yeah, listless songs. But Chicago slaps. So just watch. I actually was even thinking, I'm like, I would love to watch Chicago after we're done podcasting.
I'd love to watch Chicago.
I would love to throw Chicago on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead we get this movie where it's Lady Gaga, a famous singer, just going like, come on, get happy. Hey, come on, get happy. Oh, let's go get happy.
It is,
and then that's the sequence. That's the whole sequence.
That's the whole sequence for a lot of them. And it is really insane to find out how, because she's an incredible singer, and it's insane how much of a not good singer you are when no music plays. How she is just so absolutely mediocre with no music playing.
Well, and I will say that
she's not actually trying.
Yes, someone should have stopped her.
Todd, where were you?
This is Todd's fault.
Todd's the director, if you don't know.
This is Todd's fault because Todd should have been like, hey, you seem to be still in character when you're singing this, and now we're in a world of fantasy where you should be Lady Gaga. Mm-hmm. You should no longer be Lee, the depressed, crazy person who made up a story and is mumbling into your chest. Please be Lady Gaga right now. And she never is, and she's just always in character, and her character is someone who is not a trained singer, which sucks for a musical. It sucks to stay in character of someone who has no musical training in a musical.
Yeah, because, like, why did you hire Lady Gaga then? That's the whole point. Because she clearly had no interest in playing any of the interesting aspects of Harley Quinn.
And they had no interest in writing that neither.
No, and also, she's not even called Harley Quinn. Her name is Lee Quinn. Fuck right off. Like, and how much you hate comic book stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Because they were even like, she's not going to do the high voice or any of the crazy stuff. I'm like, well, that's Harley Quinn. She doesn't even have an accent. She's not even a New Yorker. But yeah, she had agency at the end when she left him. And I guess she has agency because she can just go and leave and come back into insane asylums if she feels like it. That's a kind of agency.
None of that makes any. It's a kind of agency. It doesn't make a ton of sense.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I will say for most of the movie, and even now, I'm not sure she was real.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was pretty sure she was real until she showed up in his solitary confinement cell with makeup. And I was like, oh, so you're not real.
And she was just like, they let me in.
No, they didn't.
They beat him and put him in solitary confinement for a week because they all hate him. Why would they let her in?
Because you both just tried to escape during the fire.
Yes.
So like so as soon as she showed up in his cell with makeup and they like had sex, I was like, okay, so this didn't happen. And she's like part of your mind. Okay. But then like she has scenes that he's not in.
Yes. She talks to his lawyer when he's not around.
She definitely was real, but I was like, oh, just writing wise, I don't think she is real. I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
She's a depressed pixie dream girl, which I've never seen.
I haven't seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay.
I thought that was one. But
that might be a manic depressive, so that might be both. that might be the transitory period where we get this. But this is the rare depressed pixie dream girl. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was very unsure if Harley Quinn was real, but I think by the end I was like, she is, I guess, because the whole like musical sequences aren't really happening. They're just in his head. I was like, oh, and she's not real. Oh, no, wait, she is real. And sometimes he is actually singing, but sometimes he's just singing in his head. Yeah. And there's no differentiation sometimes of which is which.
Yeah. Yep. And why, I don't know. Because, like, one thing that, you know what? No. I'm not done on Harley Quinn yet.
Hit me.
I'm not done on how shittily they wrote Harley Quinn.
Oh, no. Okay.
Because, like, this is such trash at how they treat Harley Quinn that she's manipulating him. And she's like, I am manipulating you. And it's like, I really want to get a piece of your nothing. In this reality, she does actually want him, and why, it makes no sense. And especially when this is a character that since its inception, we have been spending decades moving toward nothing but independence that comic book fans love. Like, this is something that it's with every iteration, with every comic book, with every TV show, with every movie, we have moved towards an independent existing outside of the Joker, having her own agency, to the point that her last movie was literally called The Emancipation. I hate it.
You have every right to hate it, and I think I'm only pushing back because at the end she leaves him, and I'm like, that's agency at the very end. But it's a 2.5-hour movie, and she gets 5 seconds of agency at the very end, where she like pushes him away and isn't with him at the end.
Right.
But you're absolutely right, because we don't have.
And she pushes him away for not being shitty enough.
She still pushes him away. That's agency.
I guess that's a crazy person's agency, but it is agency.
But
sure.
You're right that she is obsessed with him, and she doesn't even have the storyline of, he manipulated me through hours of therapy sessions, or like he pushed me into an acid thing and that messed me up, and that's why I'm like this. She's a regular human woman who just only exists when he's around, except for when she has scenes with his lawyer, which are also about him.
Yes.
So it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Absolutely not.
And she pushes him away when he expresses vulnerability and a need for psychological assistance, which is also a hugely problematic thing for a character that is deeply rooted as a psychologist to have done. To be like, this is just kind of miserable.
Yeah, it's kind of miserable. I didn't like the movie, so I don't really care if they have bad views on mental health or like how she's doing, or like who's treating who what way. So, but yeah, it's so miserable since we already have a Harley, like a good Harley Quinn. Like Margot Robbie did such a great job, and you're right, it was about emancipation. She was the lead. She was so fun. She was so like comic book Harley.
Kaylee Cuoco does a phenomenal job as well.
She's also every other Harley has kind of crushed it.
I'm gonna say a damn near 100%.
Yeah, it's so like this is the Jared Leto of Harleys.
She really should be with Jared Leto.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? You guys go.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the spoiler section now. This Joker's dead, so you can go be with Jared Leto somewhere in his weird cult.
Yeah. Go do shitty stuff. Get out of here. With human Jared Leto. Not even Jared Leto's Joker. This is a Harley Quinn that is with the 30 Seconds to Mars musician Jared Leto.
Yes. That's her punishment for this portrayal. That's what you have to do. I'm sorry. You got to go be in the cult now.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
We also have to talk about, since we're on Harley, we have to talk about just when she gets interviewed. There's just this crazy moment where she gets interviewed by the press because they know she's Joker's girlfriend. And she's like, what are you going to do if he gets out? And she says, we're going to build a mountain. And the interviewer goes, what does that mean?
And that interviewer was all of us in the movie theater. We started dying laughing when the random reporter just goes, what does that mean?
And it's always funny.
Because it's such nonsense, and the movie was such nonsense.
The movie was such nonsense, but this rarely happens. It's like a whole group of reporters, and usually you just hear like 8 murmurs of like, what is she talking about? What are you to tell us more? But it's always so funny when it's one clear voice, even though there's not a close-up of anyone. What does that mean? It's a very Rogue One.
Very Rogue One. What is she proposing?
We love Rogue One, you guys. It's actually a very good movie. But there's a moment where Jin is giving like a speech to the rebels, and all of a sudden a voice in the back, we never get a close-up, we don't know who it belongs to, just goes, what is she proposing? And it's the funniest shit in the fucking world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was wildly similar. We're going to build a mountain, and she just walks away. And the report, what is she talking about?
What does that mean? What does that mean? It is so wild to hang a lantern on how your movie is frankly incoherent. But
it's not incoherent. It's just so slow and boring. I understood everything that was happening. Just nothing happened.
Fair. I one thing we were going to touch upon a moment ago, but I wasn't ready to let go of Harley Quinn, and I apologize for my rant. We were gonna go into kind of the premise of the musical, which I actually really like this and would like if they leaned into it more, because I think it really works as a narrative system. The idea in this film is that he is suffering from split personality of some sort, a dissociative identity disorder on some capacity, and that there are two versions of himself. And when he is medicated, he is not experiencing the other version. As he stops taking his medication, he drifts off into this fantasy world where he is having difficulty distinguishing what reality is. And I think that is a very smart and clever narrative device. And then the further gaps we have between medication, the more into the fantasy world he is. There's moments early on where we have the guard, played by Brendan Gleeson, say, like, it's time to get you your pills. And as they're walking, everyone opens a black umbrella, and then the camera above shows colorful umbrellas. And it's a small change, and it's not a full musical sequence, but it's enough to let you know, to be like, the further away you are from your medicated dose, the worse your misunderstanding of reality gets. And I'm like, ooh, this is bleeding in nicely. This is a great narrative device that allows you to fully dedicate to being a musical. And they never really do, though. They never really go as like they have, like, you know, him in that interview sing, or they'll cut to like a thought he has, but it never is his version of reality. Do you know what I mean? Like, it never really goes for it.
I don't really know what you mean. No, I'm sorry. I mean, because it does go for it a few times. Like, they have the big wedding sequence on the big long platform. They dance on the rooftops. So they have, like, when they're in like full costume and it's like beautiful and it's a full musical soundscape. They have the fake talk show that they're doing, the Sonny and Cher-esque way.
Well, now, yes, but I would say that, like, what I'm trying to say is that those are almost, if they didn't set up that narrative device, those are set up the same as a dream sequence would be. Where literally, like, he's in one of them, I think he's in the solo cell, like he's put in the hole and he lays down and goes to sleep and it happens.
Yes.
Like, it has no effect on his perception of reality.
It's
whereas
not affecting what he's actually doing.
Yeah.
It's not like this is what he's doing and this is what the dream is.
Yes. It's not like we're singing and dancing and setting a fire in that sequence. It's we set a fire, we ran away singing listlessly, and later that night, I had an idea of what a song would be. And those are just thoughts. Those aren't like full on a fantasy world.
Yeah, the person who cut the trailer did such a better job of what this movie wants to be, because when they're running away from the fire, they start dancing in the streets. And in the trailer, that cuts with the dance on the rooftop.
Yes.
And that's exactly what the movie should be.
And that's what I'm saying it should be happening, is that we should see the dancing on the rooftop, and then it cuts back to them and they're just dancing in the rain in a courtyard of an insane asylum they're escaping.
They don't have beautiful outfits on. They're not free, actually.
Yes.
It is what you think reality. So the trailer nails what you want. And that's what I thought this movie was going to be and would be great.
And that's what I think is a good narrative device, is the, like, we're bleeding reality with the musical, which allows us to just go into it, whereas all of it is just done as a dream sequence,
that is a much better way to do musicals, and they did not do it here. Because the problem with a jukebox musical, and jukebox musicals are actually much harder than regular musicals, because you have music that wasn't written for the movie. So a lot of times music kind of just stops the narrative in a jukebox musical. So really your choices are either kind of montages happen during the music, or you just put the dialogue over the song. So in like Moulin Rouge, there's kind of like dialogue and montages happening over the songs. Or the song sequences have to be so entertaining that you don't care that the plot comes to a halt. And this movie doesn't do any of that. The songs aren't all that entertaining. I actually do think like the dream sequences look really great, but they're still very low energy. And they're not like, woohoo, we're in a music sequence right now. And there's just no plot to be had, and everything comes to a grinding halt every time a song starts.
Yes.
So they really have like fallen for prey of every problem that a jukebox musical can fall to.
Yeah.
And they don't make it work. But man, whoever cut that trailer would have made a great movie.
That trailer, the trailer flat out, like, for everyone who was like, oh, it's a Joker musical, that's kind of dumb. I was like, I think that actually could be a really fun and interesting new thing to do. And the trailer made it look kind of cool, I think.
The trailer, I was actually really excited for that movie. Because when you were talking about the premise of this film, what I would say a huge misstep is, because I thought you were going to get into this, is the idea that he starts going to music therapy, and that's why it's a musical. We see nothing of him at music therapy.
Yeah.
We don't see him listen to a song. We don't see him hear Lady Gaga sing at music therapy.
He never sings at music
He never
therapy in a
sings.
musical starring him.
No, he walks into the room. The leader of the musical therapy class is like, Arthur's here, and we really hope you get something out of this class. Cut to the end of class, and we never experience the musical therapy class in any way whatsoever. And it's the framing device of the film. The idea that it gets opened up and awakened by this musical experience, and now that's how he sees reality, and nothing happens with it.
Nothing.
That's not how he falls in love with Harley. She's just sitting out in the hall, away from the music.
Away from the music. And the music isn't what's happening in reality.
No.
Because this opening sequence, the opening sequence that is the classic Warner Brothers cartoon, where it's, him, it's kind of the recap of the ending of the last movie, where it's him going to that talk show and then committing the murder. And I think that this is actually like a quite clever explanation of the premise of this movie as well, where it's him wrestling with his shadow, and it's very much like, that's my dark passenger, and then the shadow is the one that takes over. It's very much a self-admittance of the movie is correct, that I have dissociative identities in some capacity.
Yeah, the shadow took over, but then I took the punishment as Arthur.
Absolutely, yeah. So I thought that, I'm like, that's actually a really nice little sequence that summarizes the previous film in a fun Warner Brothers style that has like some comedy, even though it's not as funny as it could be. And it's something that it shows that like this cartoonish reality is what Arthur thinks he's seeing. And in reality, he has committed a murder. He has done a horrible thing. And then the music, and then it transitions from that to he now learns about music. And it's like, okay, the cartoon is now music, but like musically, he has a small dance with Harley Quinn or with Lee Quinn on a roof.
Lee Quinn.
And then he never did, and no one was harmed. So it's just a dream then. It's not a metaphor, and it's not a parallel. It's not his fantasy. It's not his distorted perception of reality. It's just a dream. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I like the idea of the shadow and the dark passenger and the admission of that with that cartoon sequence at the beginning. That was also a pretty good statement of premise. I liked that.
That was a good statement of premise. But then at the end of the movie, he says Joker doesn't exist. And like there was no dark passenger and it was just him the whole time. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just like takes that away.
It does take it away.
Yeah, retcon.
Yeah.
Instant retcon.
Well, I think that is also like the animated sequence was meant to be a recap of the previous film and telling what this film is. Because at the end of that sequence, it is both of them get wrapped into one. So I think the ending of this film is him admitting that both of those are sides of him and that he is a singular person. I
guess that could be it.
I think.
I found it weird that was considered the recap because he doesn't actually kill anyone in the recap. He just went on stage and then got in trouble.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
well,
just with himself.
Yeah, one positive, and an immense positive that I want to lay down, that I think that I was like, holy shit, this whole sequence is perfect. I want to give nothing but credit to Lee Gill, who plays Gary Puddles. Who is one of the people that that Arthur in the previous film worked with at like the Clown Academy or whatever you want to call that.
Clown business called?
The clown business.
Clown business. Yeah, he was a fellow clown.
Yeah, and he has a courtroom scene in this where it's like he's the one that Arthur liked and let go, and it's just him crying about like I'm scared all the time, and Arthur being like, but I liked you and I let you live, and he's like, everything that
you murdered someone in front of me.
This all hurts. It hurts all the time, and I'm scared. And he gives the performance of the film, in my opinion, where I'm like, he ripped my heart out. And I even kind of liked, I think he was the best scene partner for Joaquin as well, because it was the one where Joaquin now at this point has fired his lawyer and has accepted the Joker persona. And it's him being like, isn't it fun and twisted that I let you? And it's like, and it's then him kind of breaking down and being like, oh my God, I'm hurting bad people. And I am not at all thinking about how bystanders are being affected by this. And obviously he's a character that is meant to be somewhat narcissistic and lacks empathy for others. And this is the first time he's being confronted with it. And his mask dropping, I'm like, this is a well-written scene, and it's the best scene partner he's had. And Lee Gill just obliterates that performance. It's so good.
Lee Gill is very good. Joaquin is also very good. I mean, like, that scene is well performed, but even from a director standpoint, it's kind of one of the only scenes that gets to sit, even though this is actually kind of a very slow, boring movie. But like every other scene has like the camera's moving a lot, or we're never just sitting with the characters unless they're alone. So this is kind of the only scene with two characters that I feel like really like you just kind of are in it from minute to minute with no time jump, no dream sequence.
Yeah.
You're just kind of actually there. So this scene actually really did work well. Yeah, like Joker / Joaquin trying to like be fun and be like, your last name's Puddles? Really? But then, yeah, being shocked back into reality by being like, you were my only friend and you're a murderer. You're the worst person I've ever met. That actually, like, I think it's a double hurt there of like finding out you had a friend and that you hurt him then.
Yeah.
And you can really see it through the face paint even. This is Joaquin's best scene maybe also. I actually think Joaquin's really good in this. I think you can really hate a movie and think someone did a really good performance though.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, I think Joaquin is doing something really interesting. I think it's really like, I think his fluidity of movement despite his huge weight loss is actually pretty cool and interesting. It is very clown-like.
I think that there's a few moments that I'd agree with you on that. The moment in the van on the way to the courthouse when he's practicing his emotion faces is such an interesting scene of just like what a performance he is putting on and how he does not understand repercussions or emotions in any way. It was very interesting. Yeah, I think he does do some interesting stuff in the non-musical portions and the non-Gaga portions of the film. Yeah,
I would even say I just like even simply just like the way he carries himself as Arthur versus like one of the dream sequences. He does like a full tap dance routine, but he's also just like he moves so differently and he holds himself so differently as the Joker. I thought it was slick, and I think Joaquin's very good in this.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. So I'll give credit to Joaquin, and I will now also pile on the praise
Lee Gill.
of Lee Gill also is very very good. No, I agree. He slaps in this. I will say again, I do think a lot of this looks really good. I think he came up with really interesting shots. I think all the dream sequences are oddly listless in energy of performance, but look great. I think they're shot great. I think their set designed great. I think the colors really pop. I really like them. I think there's like fun scenes like when he goes alone into his cell and he's very much Arthur, and then the power goes out and he takes he inhales a cigarette.
Yeah. A drag.
A
drag is what you're looking for.
I don't smoke.
I could tell that you don't because you
do
couldn't figure
with a
out how to
cigarette?
sip a cigarette.
What do you do with it? He takes a drag of his cigarette, and you can tell from his silhouette he's the Joker now. I think there's really cool, interesting shots in this movie. Even the one you said about the umbrellas, how they go from black to colored to indicate that you're going into like a psychotic break. I think it's very well framed, and I think it has nothing to say, and I think it has no story, and I think the movie's boring, but I think it looks really good. I will yet again defend that it looks really good.
I'll agree with you on some of those shots and scenes. I wasn't overwhelmed by the look of it. There was some set stuff that I just felt was kind of just like, this is a little bland, and like, yeah, silhouettes are always interesting in film. It's just kind of a like, you got me. It does look good, and I agree, it does look good.
It does look good.
It does look good. So there's some stuff that looks good, but then there's some stuff where I'm just like, there's not as much care put into this as the last one. But some stuff does look good, and I don't want to poo-poo that. A quick goof, just you talking about cigarettes as well. It is so funny watching Lady Gaga smoke a cigarette.
Oh, is she not good at it?
She is not good at it.
Fuck, is it like if I smoked a cigarette?
It would be like if you tried to take a sip of a cigarette.
I would try to take a sip of a cigarette.
I'm just like, I don't know for sure that Lady Gaga's never smoked, but it seems like she hasn't, because she attacks the fucking thing like it is a straw she's trying to get a thick milkshake out of. It's all cheek and mouth and no lungs. It's all like, it is that image from True Detective of Matthew McConaughey trying to like power suck everything out of a cigarette. And that was a character choice, but this is her just like, it's like watching a pigeon eat like a French fry that's been left in a parking lot. She's just kind of stabbing it with her mouth. And it's so funny to me. It's so funny.
That is funny because you would think like someone would train her. Because I am willing to bet that one of the best singers in the world doesn't smoke.
Probably likely.
And probably actually was holding the smoke in her mouth so it wouldn't hit her throat and lungs, her money makers. But it is still very funny if she was that bad at it. I couldn't tell either way.
It was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny. Because I was going to say, even though I just praised the cinematography of this movie, if I saw one more fucking shot that was I take a puff of a cigarette, lean back, and then exhale, I was going to lose my fucking mind.
Mm-hmm.
They smoke constantly in this movie. I haven't seen a movie with this many cigarettes in decades.
Yeah.
In my life. And it's like, I feel like Todd, the director, like forgot kept thinking this was a cool shot and he hadn't done it yet. Every single scene is Joaquin takes a drag, leans back, exhales, and you're like, fuck, I bet that looked so cool.
It's an ad for cigarettes.
It's an ad. And then Lady Gaga's also doing it. At one point, she sucks like smoke right out of his mouth and then exhales it. It's so much cigarette. And then like there's only one thing you can do, which is inhale and exhale them. And they didn't come up with anything cooler than that.
No, but they loved showing it.
God, there's so much cigarette
God, they love showing. There's so much cigarette smoke. Yeah, but cigarettes are cool in this universe. You know, I think that there is a lot about this movie and about his approach to the Joker that is very satire paradox of like we're trying to critique something, but really we're making it also the thing that is cool. And cigarettes is one of those things, and mental illness is another one of those things where it's just like, don't you like this character and how they need help? And it's like, I think the helping is actually what
am I supposed to want to be this guy or not? Is he cool and he smokes cigarettes, or does he need help and he's really sad?
I kind of liked, and that I think was one of the things we liked about the first movie a lot more, is that even though he is, you know, a villain and a problematic character, and intentionally so, the first movie was like, this is happening because a city cut funding to social programs and to mental health assistance, which you shouldn't do. And very much one of the themes of the movie is we need to provide social programs and mental health assistance. And in this one, I'm like, I don't think you have as much to say, where it's like some people are trying to help him, but then he's also in the prison from Shawshank Redemption. And it's like you're all over the place as to whether or not people in power are trying to help you or not. And I actually don't know. I'm like, if I was being generous, the kindest theme I could take away from this movie is that giving problematic people a platform just because they are entertaining creates more problematic people in society.
Oh, okay. That was, you know what? I didn't see it on first watch, but I think that's there. Yeah.
And I think, but that is me being generous of trying to find a progressive or thoughtful idea in this film. And that is me stretching for it.
It is hard to find, because I will say, as I was watching the film, I was like, what is the theme of this one? Because it definitely isn't don't cut mental health funding, which was the theme of the first one. Because even Arthur is like, I would like to keep going to therapy in that movie, and they just don't let him. In this one, I was like, when I was like 2/3 of the way through, I'm like, I think the theme is that love turns you into your truest self. And maybe that's actually kind of cool, and it makes you happy, and you become and you can really figure out who you are once you're in love with someone. Then I was like, oh, no, that ain't it. That's not what this movie's saying.
No,
he doesn't want her. Or she's not good for him. I don't even know what's happening anymore. So the love angle didn't have any themes.
Yeah, he's just creating a fantasy with whoever's around, which I think was what the courtroom scene with his ex-neighbor was supposed to kind of showcase, which is that it's like you've created imaginary relationships with everybody in your life.
Which is another reason I thought Harley wasn't real for a while.
Yeah,
because the first movie did have scenes where he was like imagining entire conversations with his neighbor that never actually happened. So now I just have no idea how much of Harley actually existed.
Yeah, that's
so
weird.
That's a weird one.
It's a weird one. Mm-hmm. And then the movie ends with, and this is the mild spoiler that I was kind of hinting at in our intro. The movie ends with him dying. Mm-hmm. He is the Joker, or Arthur, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is about to get a visitor, and we don't know who it is. And yet another, is Lee real? Did she kill herself? Is she the one who blew up the wall? We only saw her with the gun. Was she really on the stairs? Who's coming to visit him? And then he is shivved by another prisoner who goes to tell him a joke. And then Arthur dies, and in the background, the guy who shivved him cuts Joker smiles into his mouth.
And can't stop laughing.
Because he's the real Joker?
The Joker is...
I'm hysterically laughing at this point in the movie.
It is so crazy. What's that movie where if you have sex with someone, the thing that kills you comes and chases
It Follows.
you? It Follows. It felt like that. Like you kill someone and you inherit their curse. Like you became the Joker when he killed him.
It, to me, felt like Chris Evans' tweet trying to describe what the movie Lightyear was. When Chris Evans, like, it felt very much of Chris Evans' tweet to be like, just to be clear, this isn't the Joker, the villain. This is the origin story of the human that the Joker is based on. This is Chris Evans trying to explain the premise of Lightyear, and it's one of the stupidest Easter eggs I've ever seen in anything related to a comic book.
I've got other theories, but I love the Chris Evans Lightyear description because, yes, Evans, you wrote the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Well done.
This isn't Buzz Lightyear the toy. This is the movie Lightyear that the guy who is Buzz Lightyear saw, who was inspired to be the thing.
Because
it's that, but the Joker.
It's that, because the only thing I could think of is that Todd Phillips was a fan of the show Gotham. If you recall on Gotham, every season they introduced someone who might be the Joker. And I think at the end they actually liked that. They liked him so much he was the Joker.
And I forget that actor's name.
He's so good.
He's fucking phenomenal.
He's like Cal in the Star Wars games,
yes, he
right?
is.
Yeah, he's so good. And he should be the Joker. So that's the right choice. But for like 3 or 4 seasons, they would introduce a guy every season and be like, is this guy the Joker? It's like how at the end of like Batman Begins, it's like, here's the Joker card. It's like, you can't tease the Joker in a movie called Joker 2. Oh, that's the second Joker.
That's the Folie à Deux. That's the second one. Yeah, that's the Deux. The Deux had nothing to do with Harley Quinn.
About Harley Quinn. She's got no agency in this movie.
She's got no this dude made a decision.
He decided.
He killed a man. He became a villain.
A man who had no lines and one weird close-up in the first half of the movie that made no sense.
It's so stupid that he has that close-up.
If this dude's in the first movie or something, that's insane.
It is one of the most epic misunderstandings of film I've ever seen. It is Chekhov's background extra where I'm like, why? Why did we show him? And then to be like, well, because we see him again at the end. I'm like, that's not a why.
No.
That's not a why.
Anything.
Because I wanted to, and then I will show him again later, is not a why. That's not why to have a shot in a film. It doesn't motivate the plot. It has nothing to do with anything. It's an idiotic decision.
And I would even accept, like, if they decided that they wanted to kill Joker at the end, I would even accept if all those people dressed as Joker turned on him and he was killed by like a mob of Jokers.
Yeah.
Then he's at least killed by his own creation.
Yes.
He was killed by something he made, by his own choices and like his own platform and turning on them or them feeling betrayed. But just some random dude who wasn't like a Joker fan as far as we know. He wasn't one of those guys dressed up in makeup. Mm-hmm. He wasn't all that captivated by what was happening. It wasn't the kid who idolized him. He got killed earlier.
Yeah.
If it had been that guy even, I'd be like,
huh.
Oh yeah, you built this in. Like
someone who is suffering from mental health issues, who is idolizing you and now cannot handle that his idol is flawed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's no story to this.
There's no story at all. It's nothing.
It's not anything.
It's less than nothing.
It's less than nothing. Because I think there's this idea that the Joker is always cool no matter what. And they do it in the Batman, the Matt Reeves movie. They're like, that guy in the cell you just see for a second, that's the Joker. And we're supposed to be like, oh my God. It's like, we've seen so many Jokers.
Yeah.
He's not that rare. And he's not that interesting.
No.
You have to do something cool with him.
Yeah,
you have to earn it. Jared Leto learned that the hard way. Yeah. This movie is learning that the hard way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Matt Reeves can make Joker cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
You got to do something.
On that one, we'll see.
On that one, we'll see.
On that one, we'll see.
I'll give him a shot.
And with this whole, this this isn't the Joker the villain. This is the origin story of the human that the Joker the villain is based on. On that whole idea of the like seeing that other Joker in the background cut mouth scars onto himself, a la Heath Ledger's Joker performance. Recently, Josh Gondelman had a post that I saw on Threads. It was probably on other places as well. That I thought was so funny. And I was messaging him. He hadn't seen the movie. So this is unintentionally a second level of funny. He made the joke that Joker 2 should just be called A Scar is Born. And I think that is wildly funny because it's a play on A Star is Born, a movie with Lady Gaga, a semi-musical movie with Lady Gaga. But the fact that it's the origin story of how he got those scars.
Oh, he nailed it.
Josh Gondelman calling this movie A Scar is Born is to... I can't believe the god tier layer of comedy that is required to make a second tier to a joke for a movie you haven't even seen yet.
Shit, to just like no scope it.
No scope it.
Man,
Absolutely
sniper
incredible.
rifle. I know what they're going to do. Gondelman called it.
Gondelman called it. Follow Josh Gondelman online. He's an absolutely delightful human being. Incredibly funny. Has a delightful weekly newsletter you should check out. Look up Josh Gondelman, y'all. He's a wonderful stand-up comic.
Speaking of funny things, since we're at the end of the movie, you were laughing very much at the Joker reveal, and as you should. The hardest I laughed in this movie, easily, is when Joker goes to Harley that very last time, and she starts singing. And he puts his hands on her lips and says, "Please stop singing and talk to me." And as someone who thinks there was a lot of music in this movie, I was dying laughing. Because I was sitting there and I'm like, they won't stop fucking singing and the songs suck and I hate it. And so for him to just go up to her and hold her lips closed and say, "Please stop singing," I felt it so hard. It felt like me got to walk into the movie and be like, "Stop it."
I love that. I love that, very similar to our whole review of this movie, that I agree with you and found that funny for different reasons.
Oh, what are you loving about
Well,
that?
I love that you found it funny because you felt like they never stopped singing. And I loved that multiple times this movie unintentionally critiques itself just to be like, stop, this sucks. I just thought was a general metaphor for how I felt watching this movie.
Also true.
It felt very akin to the like, what does that even mean? It felt like multiple points in this movie, just people saying lines that I'm thinking in the audience of the theater. Mm-hmm. So that was my enjoyment of that, to be like, you're right, this should stop. Mm-hmm. I also would like it to end. And
also things that should stop. I wish I'd brought this up earlier because it's a downer. But man, this movie, because I talked about how I liked the first hour and a half, and I actually did. I was having fun with a bad musical. This movie really stopped being good as soon as they put a sexual assault scene in. This really absolutely destroyed the movie for me. Like, I felt like, not in a way that I think was intended by the movie, but yeah, after that happened and they killed the kid within the same sequence, I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, you can't have any more music in this. Like, this isn't how musicals work.
And none of this is the point of the movie, to be like, the second half of Shawshank Redemption still works because that is plot motivated for the bleak place and that they are in and the indomitable nature of the human spirit. Mm-hmm. There's no theme or metaphor or point. It is just really kind of juvenile. It's what a 16-year-old thinks is dark.
Yeah, it's what you write in these kind of movies when you're like, oh, we'll be edgy and we'll put this in, we'll
edgelord content.
Because the first half of this movie is not about how bad the prison system is.
It's not saying it's great, but it's not about how bad it is.
No, the guards are actually like pretty tolerable. They make sure he takes his medicine, they take him to music class, they get him to court on time. They didn't give him an umbrella. They didn't give an umbrella was the worst thing that happened until a rape scene.
Yeah.
That's way too big a swing. They gave him cigarettes when he asked.
Yeah.
They shaved him.
They kind of liked his jokes.
Yeah. They felt like they were rooting for him.
It felt like they were laughing with him and not at him.
Actually, genuinely did.
Genuinely, and multiple times.
And then they just turned on him because I think he called them fat in the courtroom.
Called them fat on TV, yeah.
Yeah, and then they...
On TV, yeah.
On TV.
On TV.
I guess. No one knows you work there.
Yeah.
Buddy.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, so that really, I didn't like I hated the movie after that. I was like, I can't come back from this. I can't watch another fun musical sequence after you've done this.
Yeah, it doesn't belong here.
It was kind of like they realized that he hadn't killed anyone in this movie. Like, how do we keep the R? We got to make sure we keep that R rating because he doesn't attack or hurt anyone in this film.
Fair.
He just remembers that he did a few times and then he escapes and still doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually a pretty tame film other than this one terrible sequence.
It's pretty much a courtroom drama.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Chicago.
Yeah. It's bad Chicago.
It's bad Chicago.
It's bad Chicago.
Go watch Chicago, guys.
Yeah.
It's good Chicago.
I wish I knew more about beefs between American cities. I wish I knew what city to slam in here. You know what I mean?
What's Chicago's enemy?
Yeah, what's Chicago? What is Chicago like? Oh, that's bad Chicago. I don't know what we're looking at there, but yeah.
Who makes a bad pizza?
Yeah.
Who makes a thin pizza?
Yeah, and I don't want to make enemies, so I'm not just going to start throwing out ideas.
Oh, that's
here,
a good plan.
So let's just kind of like leave it
anywhere.
Yeah. But whatever their Shelbyville is, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Great metaphor.
There we go.
Really safe one. Because we all hate Shelbyville.
Well, yeah, we all hate
Shelbyville.
Yeah, what's the Shelbyville? This movie is Shelbyville to Chicago Springfield. I agree with you on all that. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do that, though, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts, and it warms our hearts, and it's just very nice to see. It's lovely.
Man, you listed a lot of great reasons to leave us a 5-star review. Yeah, wherever you're listening to this, you can probably leave us a 5-star review there. Also, if a little rating and review would be nice. We like to read nice words.
We like it all.
It makes us feel good.
Makes us feel good. And
it's like bustin'.
It's bustin'. It makes us feel good. Put that in the review. Just say bustin' makes me feel good.
It's fun to write.
Yeah, and then people will be like, oh, they probably wrote this. This reviewer probably wrote this after a Ghostbusters episode. Nope. Joker Folie, Deux episode.
Jokey.
Yeah. Write down jokey. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Curveball.
Throw a curveball. Make sure zig when society thinks you should zag. And if you do want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service. It gives you lots of cool bonuses depending on how much you want to subscribe at. At the $3 level, you get these episodes early and ad-free, which means that you could be listening to this on a Thursday rather than a Monday, so you could decide whether or not that this movie was worth time going to a theater this weekend.
We could have saved you.
If
you saw this.
Yeah.
If you saw this, you could have watched Chicago instead.
Or you could have went in with a more comedic expectation to be like, oh, this is going to be funny bad. Let's have a couple drinks. Let's have that energy to it.
Also a good energy to it. Yeah, don't expect the trailer.
Yeah, don't expect the trailer. So we could have given you that on a Thursday and ad-free at the $3 level. At the $10 level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month, and you get immediate access to the back catalog when you sign up at that level. It's awesome. There's lots of cool different options, and depending on your budget, there's lots of ways for it to fit in. And if your budget changes, you can always cancel or adjust your level on any given month. There's no pressure there. So check out the options. They're over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change now that we've discussed everything we've discussed. Diana, what would you change?
I would have watched Chicago. So that's number one. Actual changes? It's so bad that it's hard to be like, oh, there's anything to change. I mean, I love your idea of the scenes actually line up of what's happening in reality versus the dream sequences. I think that's always more interesting. It's always fun to try to parse what actually happened that way when it's purposeful. So I would have liked that. My biggest changes are no sexual assault scene. I think if they just kill his kid friend, that's actually more than enough to turn him around and make him sad again. It really it's not the tone of this film and it comes out of nowhere. So get rid of that. And then I'm gonna just I really actually, because the first bit of this movie I did enjoy, I really wanted to feel like Harley and Joker actually had more of a relationship. So I'm going to say I really want more of just the music class, the therapy class. I want him to see Harley singing and fall in love with her, even if it is Manic Pixie Dream Girl. It's still just more interesting. There's more of a connection. They seem to be in love so fast. I really needed more buildup for this. More of them in the classes, because then you have more of a framing device of why this even is a musical, even though the first one wasn't, because who switches genres like that? Not how movies work. So yeah, we're gonna get rid of the sexual assault scene. We're gonna have more Harley in the beginning, more musical formulation, and the songs are better. There's just so much you can change. You can change everything, really. God, yeah, change everything. Let's do that. Just the scene with Gary Puddles. We'll keep that. Puddles stays. And that's it. That's all you can do. There's only so much you can do with something like this. Andrew, what would you change?
I'm with you on pretty much all of that. Where I'm like, yeah, we remove the problematic scenes, and let's sync things up and make the music a little bit better. My main change that I had written down before we started our discussion today, so it's wild that you disagreed with me on this, but my change was make this a musical. Because I don't think it's a musical. I don't think it's a musical in any way. I think if you're going to make a jukebox musical, I think you sit down, you choose 12 songs that are going to be played to completion. To completion. And we're talking about studio versions or professional re-recordings. Not listless mumblings. I do not want to hear like, because when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. I don't want to hear that. I want someone to say the first line of that song, and then I hear the studio recorded version of that song to a music video of that song. I want a jukebox musical.
They're great.
And none of this is the album versions of anything to a full music video length. And I think that's what I want. 12 tracks, carefully selected, chosen to fit and work here.
Okay, I also want that. But I just think there's more music than you think there is. But I want that. I want more music, better music.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 is more of a 70s jukebox musical than this film is.
Got and that at least array of songs.
An array of songs that are memorable, needle drops that you remember, I think are very important.
Fits what's happening every scene.
Yep. So I want it to be a real-ass musical. If you're going to alienate some fans, alienate some fucking fans and just go for it. Just go for it.
It's crazy to me how differently this movie is perceived by each of us and other people in reviews. That's crazy. I'm glad it's not just us. I'm glad this is a whole what color is the dress?
Yes.
How much music is in the Joker 2? Kind of.
Yeah, I'd say I think the majority of music in this is a pianist just vamping. Vamping to fill time.
What a weird thing to ask a pianist to do.
Yeah, I mean,
in a movie
it's very vaudevillian. It's very old timey to be like, I don't know all the words to this one. Vamp for me, Charlie. We're happy. Come on, get happy. Hey, look over here, get happy. Tickle the ivory. That's it.
Well, I don't think we fixed it.
I know.
To say for the first time,
you know what?
We didn't fix it.
I'm gonna agree. This is the first time when we didn't. Normally, I say we did it. We didn't do it.
We didn't fix shit.
We didn't fix a goddamn thing on this one.
This movie's still busted.
Well, next week we'll be talking about more of DC properties, but a little bit different. Next week we're going to be talking about the first 4 episodes of The Penguin.
This month's very fun. A lot of villains. We're doing Venom at the end of the month as well.
Yeah, big villain month. Big villain energy. So we'll be talking about The Penguin next week on the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, oh, and by the way, you should join us on November 2nd when we are doing Extra Life Game Day. It is a 24-hour live stream in support of Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. We did it a couple years ago. It was a huge success. It was a blast. We raised a lot of money for Sick Kids Hospital. It was absolutely fantastic. We're trying to raise money again, and we're going to be online for 24 hours straight, live streaming, live podcast tapings of every one of our podcasts. So we'll be there doing a live taping of Talk from Superheroes. There'll be a Q&A with the chat afterwards. We have cool prizes and giveaways. Depending on how much you give, for a $20 donation, you get entered in a raffle draw. We're drawing for prizes like video game controllers, t-shirts, signed copies of Diana's book.
Hello.
For a $30 donation, you get the raffle entry and you get comedy albums from everyone on the network. For a $50 donation, then as well, you also get all of the 2023 bonus episodes of every podcast on the network. So
that is such a get.
One value, you get dozens of episodes from multiple different podcasts. So lots of cool options. We're trying to raise money. It all goes towards a great cause. Even, frankly, honestly, even if you don't give a shit about any of those bonuses, give like $5 if you can. I don't care.
You were gonna say if you don't give a shit about kids, at least you get the bonuses.
Or that too, vice
Either
versa.
way.
If you don't care about the kids, get some bonuses. And if you don't care about the bonuses, for the love of God, think of the kids.
Some people saw music, some people didn't see music.
Whatever you're
reason.
seeing, please give what you can. Head over to fromsuperheroes.com
No.
You're going to want to head to extralife.fromsuperheroes.com. That's extralife.fromsuperheroes.com, and please give what you can. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me online. I'm at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me at Pics of Diana on Threads and Instagram, and Words of Diana on Twitter and Tumblr.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes, and you can check out everything we create over at fromsuperheroes.com, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.